Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back for a big double game week Friday night special, joined by regular co-host Mr. Dean Jones. But first, we have got Mr. Manchester in the house himself. Many of you know him from Premier League productions. He's usually interviewing Pep and Ten Hag. Well, tonight he is with us. He's with you guys, our chasers. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again. I enjoyed it last time, so let's go, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're doing pretty well in FPL as well, right? What rank are you on?
I'm about 30,000, I think, something like that. But I feel like, I was treading, I think I was about that last time I came on. I've been sort of roughly there for, I don't know, about 10 game weeks now. So at least I've not dropped, I suppose. Look on the bright side.
Yeah, we don't do red arrows on this show, mate.
Chasing green ones, aren't we?
Don't do reds. Don't do reds. Dean, we don't have to give our ranks. We'll just go off Ian, shall we?
Blimey, yeah. I wish I was 30,000th. About 500,000, I think, maybe even lower. But yeah, there's still hope. Hopefully, like people like Ian, he won't, but other people, casuals who aren't on TV or on podcasts or YouTube shows, just give up, and that gives me a chance to catch them and actually they just leave their teams. There's injured players left. Like that's my best hope at this stage of actually gaining. Getting up this table.
You're not in the curry zone though, right? Which is the all important.
Oh no, Ian. So in my mini league, there's 13 of us.
Yeah.
So we all put in money to start the season, and then we split it between the top three or whatever. But then the bottom three, we all go out for a curry at the end of the season. The bottom three pay for the curry and drinks. It's an expensive night out. And I have once paid. It was a disastrous season. But this season, no, I think I'm third in the mini league right now, so I'm fine.
Have you looked at the menu yet? Picked out what you're going to order?
Yeah, we batter it. We absolutely batter it.
Lads, I've got to share this with you and all the chasers. Dean and I have got a mutual friend who I met at for a drink in a pub the other day, and he was saying about his mini league and the dares that you have to do if you finish bottom. Dean, I'll tell you after the show who this is. You might know them when I tell the story. But he once finished bottom, and his challenge was their final day, game week 38, results come in, you finish bottom of your mini league. You now need to get on as many flights as you can for 24 hours. You've got to go to an airport and get as many flights. We'll pay for it as you can. So he went from like Stockholm to the south of France, back to like Poland, Eastern Europe. And then, he did so many flights that his nose, like he couldn't deal with the altitude. His nose was bleeding. I was like, that's mental. What have you done in other seasons? He was like, well, this season, the loser has to go to a McDonald's and sit in the same seat for 24 hours. And they can only eat away at those hours by eating a Big Mac. So if you eat 5 Big Macs, you lose 5 hours. If you eat 12 Big Macs, you lose 12 hours and only have to sit there for 12 hours. Other seasons, they've gone to like the last goal scored in the Football League in game week 38. Let's say it's Rotherham. You've got to go on a train to Rotherham that night and get a selfie by the stadium. Like, ridiculous things. But finishing bottom of your mini league, I can't imagine anything worse. I didn't realise groups of like FPL managers were doing this, but clearly it's quite popular. Let us know in the chat if you guys take part in any crazy mini leagues like that. Yeah, mental. The nosebleed thing got me. I was like, mate, that is unhealthy. Guys, coming up in today's stream, we got loads to get through. We're going to be showing all of our teams. There's some hits going on as well. We're going to be chatting like United and City, obviously, with Ian. We're going to play a little game around how many minutes we think the key assets from Man United and Man City will get. That's going to be really interesting in these fast turnaround doubles. We've, of course, got Against the Obvious. We'll be answering your questions, and we've got Fresh Off the Press. But before we go there, let's have a little look at what's happened in the last couple of days. Like, what an eventful game week 33. Ian, did you have a good one?
Yeah, it was okay, actually. It was a green arrow for about 10,000 places. So, sorry, no, what am I saying? 2,000 places, not 10,000 places. So it was a little one, but it was from about 31,000 to 29, whatever it is, something like that. Hero of the game week again, obviously Erling Haaland, excuse me, like everyone else. The Manchester United match at Spurs was great for me as well because I had Rashford and Kane. So that worked out pretty well. Although I did have David De Gea too. So I was sort of hedging my bets a little bit there, I suppose, with that. But yeah, I mean, quite jealous really of some of the scorers because they're the types of players who are like nearly in your teams, if you know what I mean. There's been a few of them of late. The free hit was a bit like that as well, which maybe we'll talk about a bit later in 32. There's a few players who you're like, I don't really know why Steele's one of them. I don't know why I don't own him. I do know why, because I've got a Stupinan who gets 1 or 2 points every single.
Yeah, I think you've muted yourself, Ian, but that's good. But yeah, a Stupinan, you're right, like 1 point a game. Dean, Erling Haaland, like, is he just become, is such a boring captaincy choice, but we have to do it every week, don't we?
Oh, yeah, it's back to the old like Aguero days and Salah days, isn't it? When you've just got the same captain every week, and there's no, there was a few people on the show the other day talking about mixing up the captaincy, and it's like, just don't. Like, this isn't the time. Haaland is going to be too hungry in a game like this, and he's up against Rob Holding. We said that before. Like, there was a mismatch from the start. I feel sorry genuinely for Rob Holding, because he's not good enough to be playing in a game like that, and he wouldn't have expected at the start of the season to be playing in a title decider like that. That wasn't on the cards. Arsenal have punched above their weight. They've exceeded expectations, and now it's seen as disappointment when it's an unbelievable season. Yeah, it's got this tainted feel to it. It's really strange, but yeah, I mean, there's no point looking anywhere else. Yeah, but Haaland, I mean, my big oversight, mate. I don't know why I had 2 Brentford players on the bench, their goalkeeper and the defender for that game, and I kept her in goal. What is wrong with me?
No, I mean, the book, I don't want to just go to what the bookies say, but they're often right. There was a 44% chance of a Chelsea clean sheet. There was a 22% chance of a Brentford clean sheet. Like, Chelsea were the firm favourites. I actually think the bookies get that wrong, but I would still say Chelsea probably should edge it at home. But yeah, even when you look at the XG from the game, Brentford didn't create loads. Chelsea created loads. Chelsea can't hit a barn door, so they're not going to score goals. But I made the same mistake. I benched Raya as well. Ian, you're shaking your head at that one. You think Brentford were comfortably going into that as the team that would keep a clean sheet over Chelsea, do you think?
Not necessarily comfortably, but I think at this sort of stage, you do need to look at the team's forms and the moments that these sides are in. And Chelsea are in such a bad moment that I want rid of my Chelsea players. I own Kepa, but he's second choice behind De Gea. Even though De Gea was away at Spurs, there was absolutely no way I was starting Kepa. And I have to say, if I had Raya, I definitely would have started Raya, just because Chelsea have got that habit of having a lot of shots and not scoring as well. So, even if they did sneak one, he's probably still going to get good save points. There's a few sort of issues like that some of these players are becoming automatic picks because of doubles almost, and we keep hold of them because we're scared of selling them because they've got doubles coming. But you do need to be wary of that, because there are teams who don't have doubles who have players who are still great picks. This week, people like Ivan Toney, Kieran Trippier, Alexander Isak, just because they're not doubling doesn't mean they're not good picks.
Yeah.
Newcastle at home to Southampton, we're going to see, like, that could be a big ceiling game. We're going to see a ton of Newcastle players on our benches. Like, I've got Botman benched, but I'm seeing managers out there having to bench Trippier, having to bench even Isak. Like, that's a huge call.
Don't. Either of those two players, start them. I mean, I'd even start Isak over a Brighton midfielder, for example, who have a double, to be honest. I think that is a brilliant fixture. And the form that he's in, like I said a minute ago, look at sort of moments for teams and players. That dribble even alone makes me want to bring Isak into my team this week, because he's clearly full of confidence. He's absolutely flying. Newcastle's form's great. He didn't start against Everton. Tell me what reason you'd stick him on your bench. I have no idea.
Yeah, like Nuclear Atom says he's bringing Isak in on a free hit draft. Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's an interesting one. Like, Jota versus Isak this week is a big dilemma I've got. I'm set on Jota all week, but I've been a little bit put off by the quote from Klopp today. I've gone through all the training photos which were uploaded to the Liverpool website in the last 15, 20 minutes, and he's not pictured in training. There's probably a few players not pictured, probably only 10, 15 players that made those photos. It's about 30 picks. But Isak in a single game week, like, knowing he was benched in the week as well, we know Isak's going to start against Southampton. The dribble was insane. Week before that, he's smashing goals in for fun. Like, Dean, who would you go with?
The thing is with Liverpool, Isak. I mean, they've been using the same lineup and the same players while they've been building up this momentum. And I think through this little spell that they've obviously got, on paper, it looks great, 3 home games in a row here, and they've got a top 4 spot that actually is reachable, given especially the form of a couple of the teams in there that are inconsistent. But Jota was coming back from injury, got into that team. He's played a lot since then. I don't know how safe his minutes are. On form, I think he's in there, But I'm just not convinced that like him, Henderson, Curtis Jones, I think those three are vulnerable to getting dropped. Obviously, the other two midfielders don't really matter. None of us got them as picks. But Jota, I'm just not sure, especially Luis Diaz is coming back. There's Darwin desperate for more time. I just am a bit concerned, or I would be concerned if I had him, that he wouldn't play. So I think I would bring in Isak. I mean, I've got Ollie Watkins, and I'm thinking of bringing Isak in for him. You watch that game, like Ian says, like you can't ignore form like this at the moment. Like as a team and an individual, like you're going to be looking back on this game week potentially and being like, I'm stupid. Like he's 6.9 million. Like it's stupid to ignore him. He's only owned by 9% of people at the moment.
Oh, I think I'm going to end up going Jota, but I love Isak as well. Ian, what's your take on that question? Isak versus Jota.
You go Jota, Gianni. I don't need to say anything
else. Are you close on either of them?
Isak, yeah, definitely. I need your help, so maybe I shouldn't be winding you up. Actually,
you're looking at maybe selling Watkins to Isak, aren't you? Which is a very popular route this week.
Yeah, exactly. I know that I'm bringing in the boring ones, Alexander-Arnold and Salah, absolutely, definitely. I know that I'm selling Chilwell and I know that I'm selling Kane. So that means I have to pick a midfielder to sell. And it also means that I have to choose an attacker to buy. There's a boring method and there's an exciting method. The exciting method, which we'll talk about later, involves bringing in Isak, but it is a -8, that one, whereas the other one's a bit more sensible of a -4. So, perhaps we'll discuss that a little bit later.
I like that. We'll see all of our teams in about 15, 20 minutes time. But first, we're going to go, and before we do this, into our little sting for the next feature. During the sting, it gives you a nice 5 seconds to hit the like button and subscribe. Next up, we've got Fresh Off the Press.
Yeah, so normally here we reel through, go through a few teams and look at some selection dilemmas. I want to mix it up a little bit today because Brighton are concerning me, and I think that they probably deserve a little bit more attention now. In terms of being fresh off the press, I mean, De Zerbi has been talking in the press about the fact that it was a hangover, an FA Cup hangover. He put a lot of the result down to and the performance down to, and that's understandable given obviously the extra time and everything against United and the emotional damage as well it would have done. Solly March going through it, the players having to comfort him. It's difficult, it's a tough time of day there to get back and then prepare for the next fixture. Like it's no real shock that then by the time they get to Forest and they have to go through another 90 minutes that they end up losing that game. My concern now is that we've been spending weeks, maybe even months, preparing for these 3 Brighton doubles that were coming out. We've had one, we're about to go into the second, and we've all been like, right, got to keep, like last week, I had March, Mitoma, and Estupiñán all on the bench thinking, all right, I'm well set up here, lovely stuff. I'm looking at it, I don't know if I want any of them. I don't know if I want any of them because I'm not sure exactly what we're getting anymore. We're getting a Brighton team that's got a game every 3 or 4 days for the next month. Now, you can look at the league table and say, oh, Brighton have got a couple of games in hand there. They've got loads left to play. This is great, isn't it? Brighton don't know what to do in this situation. None of these players have ever been through anything like this. And yeah, like they are a good team, but they're exhausted mentally and physically. And they've, after that, heartbreak basically and missing that penalty in that shootout, they've got to recover from that and try. They have got the motivation, obviously, of being able to reach Europe, but they've also got no pedigree of ever doing this. So we don't know that they can do it. It's the same kind of conundrum you've got with Arsenal winning the league here. Have they actually got the mental mindset to get this over the line? And we don't know. De Zerbi, I trust as a manager generally, but he's got to call on players now and get an extra yard and an extra 10% out of players that might not be there anymore. Evan Ferguson's injured at the moment. He's going to have to rotate over this double. Estupiñán is massive concern to me into this double. I don't know if I want him for this. I mean, I've got March and Mitoma, and I'll stick with that. Wolves and Man United at home, and they're still good fixtures where you'd hope that they're going to get some points in. But I'm interested in the comments. Let me know, like, what are you thinking now, people, about the fact that we've all been desperate to have 3 Brighton assets for this run-in, and it actually looks like they might be done. They might be worn out.
They do look spent. Ian, you must have been at Wembley when we saw the semi-final. Like, they started the game so well, but as it went on, they were looking more and more tired. And today, De Zerbi said on Matoma, and I think this is probably for a few of the players, I think he's tired now because he's playing maybe too many games. But he has to get used to playing 3 games per week if he wants to play for a big team, or if we're in Europe for next year. So it sounds like Matoma is going to carry on starting. And when you look at Matoma, March, and McAllister, they're kind of undroppable because there isn't like-for-like replacements for these guys. So they're probably going to be playing 80, 90 minutes in all these games, but they just don't quite look at the level that perhaps we've seen in weeks gone by.
No, I think that's fair. Don't we have something like this in every single season where we keep hold of people because we expect something to happen and it never does, and we never seem to learn? And it's a bit like, I think I was talking about this the last time I was on. It was a bit like when we were avoiding Matoma because he had a blank coming in about 5 weeks, but he was absolutely setting the world alight heading up to it. And you're like, why haven't I owned this guy? You know, he's got a blank in like game week 20 and it's game week 15 or whatever it was. So I own at the moment Estupinan, March, and also McAllister. I only really want Solly March, and that's because he's really cheap, and I won't mind benching it, to be honest, because the hangover as well now from playing the wild card when I did is, and then the bench boost as well. It just means that I've got a benching headache, a dilemma all the time. One of the things I'm definitely going to do this week is bring in Greenwood up front, so I've just got a third sub that can just get out of the way. Maximize as much money going into the bank with the move as well. Yeah. But actually, I could keep Bukayo Saka over Alexis McAllister, which seems stupid in a way because of the amount of fixtures that they've got. And the stats are still good, aren't they? The numbers are still good for Brighton. They're still creating plenty of chances, high XG in all the games. So it's a hard argument in some ways, but then when you factor in that McAllister's playing deep a lot, that they look tired, that they're going to be even more tired considering just how many games that they've got left. They've got more matches than anyone else, of course, to squeeze in the final 5 game weeks. I'm just not sure they're as appealing as they were, and I still don't own Matoma. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it does feel like I think Matoma, March, I'm still very happy with these guys because they're so cheap, but my expectation with them has definitely dropped. And I guess the spots we're less certain on is our defensive cover there. Like, if you've got a Stupinan, 1, are Brighton keeping clean sheets? No, they're not. But 2, could he suffer from some rotation? Yeah, rotation. Could he be dropped for the odd game? I think probably yes. Yet with Steele and Lewis Dunk, you think they're probably going to play every game between now and the end of the season. So yeah, it's an interesting dilemma to have. I think I'll be holding them. But as we say, for future seasons, lesson learned perhaps. Like, let's not be fully blinkered by doubles 5-6 weeks ahead of time.
We'll do it again, mate. Don't worry.
We make the same mistakes.
Yeah. It was that semi-final, like that was always the thing. I did have it in my mind, like that can do this to teams. Like everything they're going to put into that game, the build up to it, the hope of getting to the final, what it would have meant to them.
And then extra time.
And then you get an extra time on top and a Solly March missed pen. Yeah,
it was interesting actually that De Zerbi said he felt that they still had the disappointment of Wembley in them when they played away at Nottingham Forest. And they actually started that game quite well as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
and then drifted from there. But yeah, like we've established, really, I'm not sure I'd be bringing them in at this point. I'm sort of 50-50 about whether I keep them, considering the plans that I've got again, which we'll come on to.
Yeah, it's fair. There's a few on, say, double Brighton. I don't think I'd be shopping for a third. And there's others that maybe are looking to accommodate Trent this week. And Stupinan is perhaps the only route there because they're not happy selling any other defender. And I don't hate that sell either. Okay, we're going to be showing our teams very soon. Dean, I don't know if there's any other headlines you want to touch on before we do.
There wasn't really a lot, to be honest. I noticed that Zaha's back in the frame for Palace, so you never know that. Roy Hodgson's always sees him as like the game changer whenever he's been in charge of Palace and puts a lot of faith in his ability to, make the difference. So Zaha will have an impact between now and the end of the season, but you just don't know when those games are going to come, do you? That's the biggest problem always with owning Zaha. That was the main other thing that jumped out at me, really.
Yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne is okay, isn't he? There was some concern over him because he was flagged.
Yeah,
he was flagged.
Was he flagged? I didn't even notice.
It was a niggle, wasn't it? It was a niggle.
Yeah, I was at that game actually against Arsenal. Guardiola said afterwards that he'd been brought off with a niggle, but he seems fine. I mean, Pep said that he'd got a fully fit squad to choose from apart from Nathan Ake. So
I mean, as a Fulham fan,
okay.
I'm obviously pretty disappointed about that. I've got a feeling we get an absolute pasting on Sunday. When Arsenal played against us, honestly, it was just an absolute lesson. Fulham have been so good this season, like structurally, like the team is, it performs very well. Like the mechanisms of it are great, and Arsenal just tore it to pieces. So I'm now thinking, blimey, if City can beat that team 4-1, what Man City can do to us?
They are flying at the moment. I can see goals galore in that one too. Look, we're going to need some good amount of time on our teams because all three of us have got some surgery this week. We're all making a few transfers. We want your comments in the chat with suggestions for all three of us should be doing. So without further ado, let's have a look at our team reveals.
Oh no! I mean, this team does need to be in the ER room. I think, like it's. I've only got one transfer, and I won about 4. Okay, so goalkeeper's all right. I'm happy for Raya to play in goal. He's got Forest at home. That's fine. Trippier, Southampton, fine. I've got a lot of doubles there, so like generally that's okay. Like my concerns really are Estupinan. The fact I've got Saka and Martinelli, like the fact it's against Chelsea at home probably saves it. Like typically, if it was there's many other fixtures, I would not want to be keeping hold of both those players anymore. But because it's Chelsea and it's at home, I'm okay with it. I'm sorry, Gianni, I'm talking about Chelsea.
Then it's Newcastle and Brighton, though. That is a tough 3 fixtures. That's not good fixtures for Arsenal, are they?
This was always the spell, wasn't it? There was this 4-game spell that we were always looking at as like, can Arsenal hack the pressure of getting through that spell to win the league? And obviously they're probably not going to do that. At the moment on my bench, as you can see, there's me, Gabriel, Watkins. So I've got things to consider here, like Trent. You know, there's things like that. There's the Isak coming in for Watkins. You know, I've got Kane in here. Do I even want Kane anymore? Not sure I do. So let's say there's 3-4 players that I don't really want. Resting Pilgrim says take a hit to get in City in Liverpool. I mean, do you think that's it? Do you think I need to take a hit? And how big a hit can I take? Can I go 8 points?
I'll give a suggestion and then perhaps Ian can. Yeah. I think a lot of us are having to... No one really wants to sell Harry Kane. Like, he's just got 11 points against United. He looks good. He doesn't have a double, and money is always tight in FPL, and we need to get Liverpool and City players in, and that costs money. So Kane's going to be the make weight for most. So I'd go Kane down to Jota, and then I would go Martinelli or Saka, whichever, to either De Bruyne or Salah. So I'd use the Kane funds to pick up a premium at Liverpool or City. I'd consider thinking how I can get Trent in, but maybe that's a move too far. But yeah, I'd use the Kane money to go De Bruyne or Salah, depending on your risk appetite. I mean, Salah's the safer bet, but De Bruyne possibly is the higher ceiling.
Ian, I also haven't got Rashford.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Rashford.
I think you can take a -8. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there'll be quite a lot of managers this week taking a -4, if not a -8, actually. So, you know, if you look across the field, it may not be a -8 if there's lots of other managers taking hits as well in terms of, you know, the relative damage. You could take Kane down to Isak, which frees up quite a lot and probably gives you enough to do Saka to Salah, and then maybe Gabriel up to Trent Alexander-Arnold or one of the other Liverpool.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
You can, I mean, you need to prioritise who you think's going to.
I think 3 changes is needed, isn't it? I mean, 1 is not going to be enough. And I think I'll be regretting not taking a points here, especially like it killed me. I thought I could get through the last game week without Rashford, and obviously that
Rashford looked back to the levels that he's shown, the top levels he's shown this season, certainly in the first half at Spurs, and at home has been where he's been better this season for United. That said, I think the double is tricky for United. The 2 fixtures, to be fair, away at Brighton, but first of all at home to Villa.
What do you think he's going to do, Ian? Like, obviously, like they've got to weigh this up in terms of making the top 4, but also like getting through to the FA Cup final and making sure he can field like his strongest team. Yeah, how's he going to juggle that?
He won't juggle it. He'll just play the best team he possibly can week after week after week after week, which is what he seems to have done all season. I do think United are tired. I do think that's been a factor in some of the results that they've had of late, especially the drop off at Tottenham, for example, because people like Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford when he's been fit, Luke Shaw when he's been fit, they've been automatic picks. They've played literally every single game, even if it's been, an opportunity to rotate in some of the cup games. I just don't think Ten Hag does this. I believe that when he was at Ajax, he was exactly the same. The fans were crying out for players to be rested and rotated, and he just didn't do it, which actually for FPL is a dream.
It's great.
So I think you'll find that Marcus Rashford starts every single game that's left. I think you find that Luke Shaw starts every single game that's left. The only caveat I'll say to that is that if the top four's done before the end of the season, then perhaps there's a chance in the final match or the final couple of games, depending on how that goes.
Or Fulham on the last day would be Andy.
Yeah, he might then be able to rotate it a little bit, but definitely for now, I don't think there's a chance that he rotates Rashford in this double, for example.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, nice. Food for thought there, Dean.
Yeah,
look, it's a cliche and we say it every double game week, but just to put reasoning behind the argument of, say, City players, City have 2 doubles remaining. Arsenal don't have any. So 2 additional fixtures just through appearance points. And I hate saying it every time. Just through appearance points alone, you're making up that hit. You're breaking even on that -4, the additional 4 points in appearance over those 2 extra doubles City have.
Are you confident that you can pick a City player who's going to get 4 appearance points over this double, Gianni?
I'm confident I can pick starters. Whether or not they hit the 60-minute mark, I think a lot of that will come down to game state. Like if they're 3 against Fulham at half time, Haaland could come off. But if it's 0-0, he'll play 90. So it's a really interesting one. But I'm gonna quiz you, Dean, on some Manchester United and City assets over the double to calculate what we think will, in terms of minutes, some of these big names will get.
Okay.
Let's move on to either Ian or my team. Let's see who's going to be up next. What we got? It's Ian's team.
It is my team. Right. So I said before, I'm definitely bringing in Salah. I'm definitely the one that's definitely certain. Trent Alexander-Arnold's coming in for Ben Chilwell. Done. Then it's what I do with bringing in Mo Salah and making a change up front because I need the funds out of Harry Kane. So the boring way is to just take Kane down to Greenwood and then be able to swap pretty much anyone really to Mo Salah in midfield. Take your pick between sort of Saka.
Isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. You say that it's got to be Saka. This has actually got an error on it because Sven Botman's on the bench on here, and actually it'd be Alexis McAllister. So I could take out one of the Brighton midfielders. I've got enough money to be able to do that if I put Watkins down to Isak as well. So I've got 2 free transfers. I can make 3 for a -4. I can make 4 for a -8. So just the sort of like rolling the dice move a little bit is to do a -8 where Isak comes in for Watkins, Greenwood comes in for Kane, Salah comes in for McAllister, and Alexander-Arnold comes in for Chilwell.
Not Ake.
No, and the reason for that is that I want rid of Ben Chilwell, and I might want Nathan Ake later on. But
he does have a double in 36 or 7, doesn't he?
Nathan Ake. Yeah, the fixtures are good for City as well, aren't they? The problem is I don't know when he's going to be back.
And they said, hopeful for the Madrid. And I'm like, Madrid comes after game week 35. And then if he plays in the Madrid games, which if he's fit, he will.
The one in between if
then he's going to miss another Premier League game. I own Ake and Chilwell, and I'm buying Trent, and I'm selling Ake.
Yeah, and I can't afford to do what I've just said and take out Ake.
Yeah.
Because I'm only actually left with 0.1 in the bank. So Ake can sit on my bench and wait. The only thing that does do, this is an interesting point, actually, if people have got Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland already, that third City spot could be brilliant coming up because if Kevin De Bruyne's certain to play, which he should be, when the matches, when they're past that Real Madrid game, you're going to want him in your teams because he's been absolutely fantastic of late. And if I've got Nathan Ake injured on my bench, I'm going to be so annoyed at myself that I've sort of like taken up that spot and blocked it. So there is a consideration there as well. That said, if he's back fit, he's a good option. I'm a bit annoyed that I picked Ake over Stones when I made that decision a few weeks ago because Stones has scored twice since and Nathan Ake's got
0
0,
points. Yeah.
and 2 in the 3 game weeks that I've owned him. So that was a good transfer.
And he was probably on your bench for the 2. He was on mine anyway. I've netted 0 from Ake. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's good when that happens, isn't it? So yeah, what would you do? What do you reckon?
I think I would sell Ake just because of the blocking of the third City asset. It's also worth noting in game week 35, which I think is the game before Madrid, City play in the 3 o'clock, but there's no 12:30. So it's very likely we'll get some team leaks. Now, if you're into that sort of thing and you see your Twitter timeline and you see that Alvarez is starting or Mahrez is starting, it's against Leeds at home, big ceiling fixture. You want to be able to react to that, and having that third City spot available to go, I'm going to swap a mid-price mid for Mahrez straight away. I think you do it. So yeah, worth bearing that in mind with that third City asset. But I think you're right, like bringing the money out of Kane and getting Salah and identifying Trent. And Isak's a good move. I mean, I still prefer Jota to Isak, I think. But yeah, it's a tight call. I mean, Dean, before I come to you, we've got FPL Guns in the chat, who's back at world number 1.
Unbelievable.
Hello, Ali Yahangarov. Wow. Congrats.
Unbelievable.
He had a stormer last week. I think he hit like 89 points. Yeah, he's smashing it. Everything he touches. I think he owns Tyrone Mings and Steele.
Maybe I should be asking him what I should do with my moves then, if he's having a season like that.
He's still got a wild
card. Stick it in the chat, FPL Guns.
He's still got a wild card. I think he's probably planning his wild card right now. I'd be surprised if he's not using it this week. Let us know, Ali. Yeah, Dean, what do you reckon with this team?
I mainly am jealous that he's got Jack Grealish because I think that Grealish is kind of a secret weapon that is still managing to fly under the radar for a lot of people. And I think with those 2 particular games that City have got, I feel like Grealish could have absolute field day. So I'm jealous of that. I do think people can take out Saka at this point if you want to open things up a bit. I don't think that's as big a risk as it has been in the rest of the season. I talked to myself about getting rid of Estupiñán and Kane, like I'm exactly the same boat there. But I think Chilwell is a smart one. I mean, there seems absolutely no chance that Chelsea keep a clean sheet against Arsenal.
Forest after that, though. Can they keep one then?
I'm just not confident that they will. And that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, Ben Chilwell, again, we're talking about moves in. He got 9 points in game week 29, which was brilliant. Then aside from that, it's 1, 1, 1 and 0. Like, it is another transfer I've made lately that I've just, week by week regretted. So, when you get to the point where you've owned someone for a little while and then you just feel like just for your own sanity, you need to get them out of the team almost.
He's a great player, obviously.
He's brilliant. I love him. As an FPL asset, he's fantastic as well when he's playing with
Greedy.
5
We love Greedy.
Yeah.
Because he's at Chelsea too, that's probably why you've stuck with him, because you're waiting for them to turn the corner because you feel it's impossible that Chelsea can keep being this bad. But every day that Frank Lampard stays at that club feels like every day that could continue. So I think you're safe. I really do. It doesn't feel like a gamble. It says 6% owned at the moment. I mean, you're not going to be the only one considering selling him right now.
No.
Yeah. And his double in 37, I think it is against City and United. It's like, okay, Chelsea might have a double, but it's not a good one.
Well, that's it for Brighton as well. One of their doubles is something like Arsenal away, Newcastle away, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is.
So, I mean, I don't even know if you want to be starting your Brighton assets, certainly the defence, anyone in defence that week. So, I'm sort of undoing Brighton answer by answer, but yeah, they've just given us a lot to doubt them, haven't they?
Yeah.
They have in recent weeks. Ian, you got double United defence with De Gea and Shaw there. The fixtures are there for them. Like the double's not great, but beyond that, I can see some clean sheet fixtures. Are we, because I'm potentially shopping for a goalkeeper, do we think De Gea, is he there for save points more than clean sheets? Certainly in this double, were you expecting a clean sheet? Because Villa at home, Brighton away are 2 tricky ones.
Well, he's just kept a clean sheet in 120 minutes against Brighton at Wembley. So I guess there is a chance of keeping a clean sheet in that second game based on that. I feel like Villa will score. I was at Unai Emery's press conference today and I interviewed Ashley Young this morning as well. And there's just good energy and vibe about Villa at the moment. There's a real confidence about what they're doing. So I can see them giving Manchester United a game and scoring at Old Trafford. The double defence is there because I think individually both of them are decent picks. Ideally probably wouldn't want to double on them, but, I'm going to face a choice between Shaw, Trippier, Estupiñán and and Alexander-Arnold. So, out of those three, Estupiñán's on the bench for me, I think. So again, I'm undoing my Brighton thing. They're going to absolutely smash this double game week, can't they? After I've said all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the fixtures after for United are good. They've got more doubles to come as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. It was me sort of hedging against Bruno Fernandes when I brought David De Gea in a few weeks ago, because Bruno at that point was playing a lot deeper. I think he's been quite unlucky, actually, not to return more in some of the games. He's been very creative. He's missed some brilliant chances, including the one at Spurs the other day. And now, the players are back for United as well. He's back in his favoured position. So, yeah.
What do you think? Obviously, it's a little bit different, but like on De Gea, every time he makes a mistake, it's like, oh, he needs to go. He'll be replaced. Yeah, at the same time, like he seems on the verge of signing a new contract. Like, which way is this actually going to go? I could imagine next season he's still there and he's actually made like club captain or something. Like, it could go anywhere.
Yeah, he's been there forever already, hasn't he? To be fair, the thing with De Gea is, I know obviously there was a lot said about his performance away at Sevilla, and rightly so, because him himself will admit that was way below what would be expected. But he's actually had a decent season for United, and with his feet, it's not his natural game. I don't think that's a secret either, but he's done okay. He's adapted to what Ten Hag wants. I think Ten Hag has compromised in the style. So I wouldn't be surprised to see De Gea start next season as the Manchester United number one again, mainly because I feel like they've got a lot of other issues that they'll need to address. The absolute number one priority for United this summer is a number 9, and that is going to be a very, very expensive transfer. So do you want to be losing David De Gea on a free and having to probably spend, 30, 40, 50 million on a replacement when you can renew his contract for less than what he's on at the moment? I imagine that's why there's not been an agreement just yet. And it doesn't cost anything, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
There we go. Good stuff. FPL Guns, great rank. This is in reference to Ian's rank. I tried to get rid of Watkins only for double game week player. Saka and Kane will be major differentials on that. Oh, no one will have them. And look, FPL Guns, Ali has been big this season on different chip strategy and not always back in the doublers. Like, he's kept the faith with a lot of single game week players that have served him well. So I'm not surprised to hear Ali say, actually, keep Saka, keep Kane.
I'm tempted to keep Saka. Yeah, I am tempted to keep Saka because I know that the Newcastle fixture is tough, but actually the games for Arsenal in attack that they've got left are not that bad, to be honest. And do you not feel like there'll be a reaction from Arsenal? They've looked under pressure big time of late. They've tripped up with the 3 draws that they had. They've been battered at Manchester City. Surely they'll react afterwards. I can't see them spiraling even further, really. I feel like after that result could have a real galvanising effect and sort of push them on to have a really strong end to the season. I think City will still win the league, but
they're
Brighton
still not playing that badly. Like De Bruyne when he was talking,
they're scoring goals still, aren't they?
Yeah, De Bruyne when he was talking, he said, we changed the way we played. He was talking about like the double pivot that they played and stuff like that, and how his role was different. And he was like, talking about how good Arsenal's pressing with, and like genuinely was like giving them as much credit as he possibly could. He was like, it was almost like, you guys don't understand how hard that was that we actually pulled off. Like, that isn't just we're a better team than them. It's like Pep Guardiola has instructed us to play a particular way that has paid off. We've had to adapt our game, and we're the reigning champions, to make sure that we can combat this unbelievable system that Arsenal have adapted. And it's the system I was talking about earlier, like that Fulham just absolutely couldn't deal with at all because it's so intense. So that's going to come back into play. That hasn't really disappeared, to be honest. Like, they've been hit, obviously, in terms of results. But you think the first half of the Liverpool game, the way they played in the first half at West Ham, okay, like Southampton, that one wasn't great. But then they're going to City. There's no reason to really completely doubt this Arsenal team and the fact that they can respond in these last 5 games. Perhaps not enough, like you say, to win the league, but to still put in really good performances. It's a really confusing one, I'm not going to lie. Like,
they've scored 8 goals in their last 4 games in what's been essentially like their toughest period of the season.
That's more than Chelsea have got all season.
and actually the fixtures after that Newcastle away game, Brighton at home, Forest away, Wolves at home, they're a team who won't rotate as well. Mikel Arteta, has made the fewest changes of any manager in the Premier League this season. I don't see that changing with the end in sight. He will want to do everything he possibly can to make make sure that City earn this title in these remaining games. And that means playing his strongest team and going for it, So that's why I want to keep hold of Saka, basically.
And in a way, like, this is irrelevant what Arsenal do with the title. It's irrelevant if they win, lose, or draw. In FPL, what we care about with our attacking players, all we care about is that they're scoring goals. Arsenal can lose or they can draw with Southampton or whatever. They're still scoring 2-3 goals a game. And I think Ali put in the chat, they're definitely a 2-3 goal a game team. Sure, we take out Man City, but even that difficult trip to Anfield a couple of weeks ago, comfortably scored 2. Their XG was super high. So Arsenal defenders, an absolute sell. But Arsenal midfielders, yeah, I completely get it as a differential. Let's move on to my team. And we're going to be doing a little game around Man United and Man City players. And we got against the obvious all in the next 20 minutes. Here we go. So this is with a 4-point hit already. I've not actually clicked these transfers, but I didn't want to show you my team without them. So I was like, I'm definitely making them. So Trent has come in for Ake and Jota has come in for Harry Kane. That Jota move could be Zach. I want to ask you guys, as someone that's around training grounds and stuff, Jota's not been photographed today in training. Doesn't mean he didn't train. He's just not been photographed. I watched the whole 20-minute press conference from Jurgen Klopp because I saw the quote and I was like, I want to see what sort of context this is in.
Johnny, out of interest.
Where do you even watch that? Who shows an entire press conference? You're like
Liverpool do on their YouTube channel.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah,
I watched quite a bit of it today as well. Johnny, just out of interest, how long have you spent today considering whether Jota's a better pick than Isak, considering you've gone through all the training pictures, I imagine several times, zooming in. You've watched the entire press conference. I guess you've probably spoken to people. You're now talking about it on this stream as well. How many hours of the day do you think you've actually spent on Jota so far?
I mean, if I include last night, because it was a lot yesterday evening, because I was debating making the move last night because of price rises. And annoyingly, Jota rose in price against the algorithm predictions on FPL statistics. So I'd probably say 6 or 7 hours. It's a huge commitment, mate. Like,
your missus all right with all this, mate?
Well, a lot of the time she doesn't know, mate. Like, I'm probably I'm watching TV with her, thinking about Jota. Right? I won't say all the things we do together when I'm thinking about FPL, but yeah, TV is one of them, depending on the program.
Country walks.
The quote today from Klopp talking about. The quote. Okay, I got 2 quotes. The quote the other day, he was speaking to BT Sport, Jules Breach, friend of the show. He said, "It's not really a headache." When talking about the front 3 selection. And this didn't do the rounds on FPL Twitter, so it's not really a headache. The counter press input is the ticket to the team. The front 3 picks itself. So at the moment, what we know about Jota is Jota, Hakpo, Salah is pretty nailed. But then, off the back of the back injury, and we did see, I can't remember who went into Jota, but at the time I remember he was down for a minute and he got some treatment, played on, came off after an hour. Klopp said Jota had a bad knock on his back, but should be all right. We'll see how that developed. Don't really make sense, but that's what he said. And then I was like, I saw that this morning, and Klopp does his press conference before training. And I was like, as long as I see him pictured in training, I know I'm absolutely fine to pick him. Then I go for the training photos and he's not pictured. But watching the whole 20-minute interview, no one really picked up on the Jota injury. That was almost like a throwaway quote. Klopp spoke about him like he was almost guaranteed to be starting. So I'm confident there. But my question to you guys:
do you think that Jurgen Klopp spoke in that press conference like Jota was guaranteed to be starting? I think you've
no, not guaranteed.
Exactly
No.
You need to read into that, Gianni.
I'm changing the narrative to suit my FPL choices here.
I was about to say, I'm keeping my powder slightly dry, considering what we've still got to do in the remainder of this stream. But I'm really not sure.
Does he train tomorrow? Is there a session on a Saturday? Was my question.
I'm going to say, like, there might be some overthinking going on in here too, because
100%.
like Liverpool played Wednesday night. You were looking at pictures from when did they train? Friday morning? Like, is that when
Friday morning?
From? So Friday morning, and he's had a bit of a problem, and not long ago he was injured, and he's been playing every game. So him not training today really doesn't mean anything, does it? Like, he's just be having a recovery session in the gym. He could be doing. It could be if there was only like 10, 11 lads out there doing the full session. That means half the squad were in the gym.
I'm having too much fun listening to this.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Guys in the chat, let me know what you think if those quotes have put you off. Ian, you're with Dean there, right? I'm overthinking.
I'm not saying anything, mate. I'm just listening. You've only spent 7 hours considering it. I think you need to consider it.
And the whole hour here.
Well, I'm glad I texted the guy at the graphics team, was like, yeah, put Jota in because I'm definitely making that move. And now I'm like, oh, is Isak an option? But no,
I think I've got Jota's agent's number on my phone, mate. Do you want it after the show? And you can just ring him and ask him if he's
Yes,
playing.
I definitely do. So look, these moves allow me one extra move if I wanted to, or they did last night if I'd gone through with it. But now I'm priced out of Raya to Edison. I was going to take a -8 and go Raya to Edison. But looks like now my option is either Raya to De Gea, which I can afford.
Does the Edison move not lock you out of what you've been telling me not to lock myself out of? You know, in terms of bringing in a third City player, if the occasion takes you.
In a way, but I'm happy with Edison because I know he starts unlike Ake. So it's like, okay, I'm still getting 3 City. But that third City asset come game week 35, when I think we'll get a team leak, for me, I'm not interested in going Alvarez because I don't have the attacking spots. Like, I'd never convert Greenwood, Haaland, or Jota there. It's Grealish. So for me, if I found out Grealish wasn't starting, I'd go I really want Mahrez. Like, Mahrez is a much better FPL asset than Grealish when he starts. The thing is, we know with Grealish we get starts. With Mahrez, we just never know. So if I saw Mahrez was starting, and even Grealish was starting, I would make that switch in game week 35. So yeah, it's the midfield spot for midfield spot.
The problem with that, though, Jenny, is that's game week 35, and you've still got 36, 37, and 38. So, you know, you can change them for that 1 week, but then would you not want to change it back?
No, because Mahrez won't play either game against Real Madrid. And
you
that's
don't know
36. That. If Bernardo Silva's fit, I don't see Mahrez playing on the right. Like, we've seen big games recently, haven't we? The quarterfinals, Silva played both. The Arsenal game, Silva played.
Yeah, so Pep Guardiola's spoken about this. Silva's his control player. If he feels like he needs to control the game, then Bernardo Silva's one of the players who he chooses to start. You know, this goes into the cocktail of trying to work out Pep roulette a little bit. But I don't think it's absolutely certain that Mahrez isn't involved. I mean, he played away at Arsenal, for example. I mean, admittedly, that was a day when Bernardo Silva started at left back and Mahrez was the player taken off to bring Ake on and shift Bernardo Silva forward. And that ended up winning the game at the Emirates. And that's a few months ago now. But, you know, there's a lot of like, this is going to happen with City. That's going to happen with City. I don't know that we can be absolutely certain what Guardiola's going to do. I've seen a lot of people talking about Alvarez, for example, and bringing him in this week. I mean, if
that's crazy to me.
Well, if De Bruyne is okay and Erling Haaland will start both games, I'm fairly certain of that, especially when he's got, you know, an all-time record. And Pep also likes to give players minutes to be able to keep the rhythm going. The last thing he'll want to do is like have Haaland and De Bruyne sat on the bench for 2 matches warming up for Real Madrid. That's not the way he does it. That's not the way he sees the way that rotation should work. So I think it's really difficult to call. And actually, I think it's more difficult than normal because there's so much uncertainty and because everyone's pretty much fit apart from Nathan Ake.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. And I think the Alvarez chat is crazy. Grealish to Mahrez for 35, I think the upside could be worth it. And I'm not necessarily counting on Grealish for the season running either. I don't think Grealish is a great FPL asset, and I'm not overly happy with him in my team. He's not a sell, but I don't expect high points from him. Like, the goal threat with Grealish is pretty much it feels non-existent.
You've done well out of it
is obviously high. Done very well out of him. Yeah, I can't complain at all. But look, let's play a little bit. We're on Man City now. We probably don't have time to justify them. But look, give me numbers, guys. If I fire a player at you, I want your suggested, and you can all play along in the chat, how many minutes do they get in the double game week, right? So I'm going to fire a couple of Man City names and a couple of Man United names at you. So let's start with everyone's captain this week. Dean, I'll come to you first. How many minutes does Erling Haaland get in game week 34? Play in the chat as well.
Honestly, 120, 130, because I think Fulham, they'll get that game won early. He'll be off by 65 minutes. And then the West Ham game, I can see it being a similar case. Like, I just don't think this is going to be one where he's needed much beyond the hour mark in either game. Like, there's such good fixtures that, yeah, I'll say 130.
Got a lot of 120s in the chat. I'll come to you, Ian. What do you reckon?
I think about 140. When he has been taken off this season, it's been around the sort of 70-minute mark.
That is true, actually. Yeah,
more often than not. Although he did do half-time, didn't he? A couple of matches ago against Leicester. I think about 140 for Haaland, roughly.
Nice. Okay. Ian, I'll come to you first on this one then. KDB.
Oof. About the same, actually. I can see him starting both games as well. And if not, I can see him, maybe slightly less certain to play both, but 120.
Dean?
Yeah, I'm a bit more sceptical on that one. I don't think he will start both. I'll say he gets 70 against Fulham, half hour against West Ham. I'm going to go 100.
Yeah, we got the guesses coming in for KDB are lower.
Yeah.
I wonder if the game he misses is the Leeds game, 35, and therefore he does get 130, 140, and then Alvarez plays at 35.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Because the other thing, they have to go and win now against
They
Fulham.
do have to win. They
have to follow it up with a win. They drew after beating Arsenal last time against Forest and ended up going second again. We're only top for 3 days. I think before the game the other night, Arsenal had been top something like 168 nights out of 171. And City have the chance to go top again after all that time this weekend. I think that's a huge factor.
Yeah. One final name on Man City. Before we do, a yes or a no answer on is KDB worth considering over Salah if you own neither and you're buying one? Dean, yes or no?
Yes.
Ian?
No, not for me.
Mainly because of the Fulham game. I still think Fulham won't handle them. I know Liverpool have got Fulham too, but Liverpool aren't as good.
Yeah. I think I'd be a yes. Right. Okay. Last City name because loads own him. Mr. No Goal Threat himself. And when I say comments like that, guys, I'm pretty flippant and tongue in cheek. Like I don't mean the guy's never going to score. In fact, I think the week I brought him in, he scored. But yeah, little goal threat, good assist threat. How many minutes does he get in the double? Dean, you first.
Is this Grealish though?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's a tough one to be fair. 90.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. Ian?
100,
Foden is back fit.
100, 110, something like that. I think he starts one of the two and he'll come on and get about half an hour in the other. So
okay. Right. Well, let's look at Man United. I think I've only got one I'm really interested here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to give you the answer of Bruno, 180. Rashford, even on crutches. Ian, I'll come to you on Rashford. Does Rashford get 180?
Out of interest, how did you digest that hat the other day, Johnny?
I've been doing hat posts for like 3 years, like on some controversial stuff. And I don't know how to this day I've not been wrong on any of them. So I was quite confident going into the Bruno thing. I was like, this is one of the easier ones. But no, yeah.
I was searching Twitter, scrolling through, expecting to see a picture of like a bobble hat and like a knife and fork next to it, with you saying just settling down to my dinner.
No, I did post a picture of me with a hat in my mouth. Yeah, I did.
I did see that. Yeah. It was a cap. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Rashford minutes, 160.
Okay, Dean?
170.
He's going to have to, isn't he? And the thing is, like, these aren't easy games. It's not like you're going to be able to pull Rashford out early on them. So that's the big problem. Like, he's not going to play less than 70 in either of them. So I'll put 140 straight away. I'll go 150, like, just to play it down a little bit. But it's going to be close to playing 2 full games, I think.
It could be close matches as well. He's not removing Marcus Rashford if the scores are close, I don't think.
No.
Yeah. Good stuff. Guys, hit the like button if you can and make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're new around here, we do these streams on Mondays and Fridays. We've got 5 minutes left of the show, which is perfect because we've got a game coming up, which is 60 seconds each in Against the Obvious. Check this out. Here we go. I think I'm up first. I'm gutted we're not going to have time to debate them all, but you can give me a 2 pence worth very briefly after I give you 60 seconds reasons of why not to buy Luke Shaw this week. Let's start that clock. Luke Shaw's been getting loads of praise because he's done a really good job at centre-back. And I was really impressed with him for the first hour against Spurs. And then out of nowhere, it was like, oh, this is Luke Shaw under Ollie. He was absolutely terrible for like 10, 15 minutes. But it's not his normal position. Is he a good FPL asset? Yes. Are United going to keep clean sheets in the double? I don't think they will. I see Villa scoring. I see Brighton scoring. And with Luke Shaw at centre-back, we get very little assist threat in open play. Sure, we still get the set-piece assist threat, but I don't think we can necessarily rely on that. If you own Luke Shaw, you're not selling him. Should you be buying him? Absolutely not. If I was shopping for a Man United defender right now, I'd save the money and go 4.1 Lindelof, or I don't even know what Dalot is, but he's cheaper than Shaw. I'd consider those guys because that centre back is just not going to get the attacking returns, despite him being quite good in the bonus. But he needs to keep clean sheets to get bonus points, tackles, interceptions, blocks, and I don't see many of them.
God,
Here we go.
Been all over the place on Shaw this season, haven't we?
Yeah, we really have. Poor bloke.
1 minute he's a must-have, the next minute he's getting him out your team.
Yeah,
Right.
terrible against Harry Kane.
Right,
Who's on Saka?
Me. So here we go. 60 seconds on Saka. Look, this is a massive dilemma, like for me, in my team anyway, right now. But this is the real dilemma, right? Arsenal have got 5 fixtures left. In the last 5 fixtures, Saka's got 1 point, 1 point, 0 points, 13 points, 2 points. There's only 1 haul there from his last 5 games for Arsenal, even though they have been scoring goals, like Ian said. Now, the next 5 games, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, Forest and Wolves. I don't know what I'm getting, so I'm keeping him for this week. But beyond that, if he doesn't deliver this weekend, I'm giving serious consideration to just getting rid of him now because Arsenal's season might genuinely be done. He's still going to do something between now and the end of the season, but I'm just thinking of taking my interest elsewhere. Like, can't even score penalties. Like, can't even trust him to do that if he does get another one. I hate saying this because, like, Saka's genuinely, like, one of my favorite players. He's, like, looks like the happiest guy in the world, like, genuinely. But I just feel like the season's been a bit too long for him.
Martinelli would be my pick over the 2 still, and you save money.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Let us know what you think to Saka in the chat. Are you selling him if you still hold him? If you still own him? Ian, you've gone for my boy, the guy that's clearly not injured and going to start on Sunday against Spurs and probably score a brace. Diogo Jota, take it away.
Yes, I've gone for the guy who you're going to spend probably about 12 hours this week deciding whether to put him in your team or not. I have to admit, a big reason for bringing him up is because I heard that you wanted to put him in and I could poke holes in it. And I'm also bitter that he got 13 points on free at 32 when I didn't actually pick him and I was very close to getting him. I interviewed him a few weeks ago. He started quoting Cristiano Ronaldo. He said, "I've not scored all season, but it's like ketchup in a bottle. Once it starts, it won't stop." I should have listened to him. That said, he has got a bit of an injury now. He's in a left wing position that Jurgen Klopp's admitted he wants to give minutes to Diaz and Darwin in because he feels that that's their best position at the moment. There's other attacking options like Isak. You can keep hold of Watkins. You can keep hold of Kane. There's an Alvarez option coming up as well, potentially in the coming weeks. And also, Gakpo's cheaper. You know, it's in a different position. He's in midfield, but 8.9. We're at a point in the season where we need money and we need lots of it. And taking up 8.9 up front with Jota, who might not necessarily play and definitely won't play 90 minutes. Not for me, mate.
I love that.
Good luck, Gianni.
Yeah, good luck, Jay.
The thing is, Isak's a good option, but Isak might play 90. Jota's going to play more than 90 over the 2 games. And they're 2 home games at Anfield. I'm going to go to bed tonight. I'm going to come off this stream with the decision made. I can tell you guys all I am picking Diogo Jota this week.
The thing is, Gianni, you said that he's going to play over 90. I don't necessarily think he will. Do you think he starts both of the games? Because if he doesn't, he might play an hour in one and half an hour in another, you know, or less than half an hour in another, I should say. I don't think he's absolutely guaranteed to play 90 minutes over these 2 games. In that attacking 3, if there's one of them who's getting rotated, considering he's got a bit of an injury doubt as well at the minute, it's Jota for me.
I think it depends how they're playing. If Jota's scored 2 goals, like if we go back a game, it was Gakpo that came off at 60 against Nottingham Forest. The game was still in the balance, and we saw Jurgen Klopp go, Jota's just scored a couple. He's staying on. He plays number 9, and Darwin comes on the left. And I still think that will become an option. I think Gakpo is just as likely to come off as Jota.
I agree with that. I think that they're both at risk of being brought off at around that mark. Definitely.
Yeah. Both will be subbed. Like
whether Liverpool are winning or losing or drawing, you know.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, like, when so obviously Liverpool's second game is against Fulham. When we played him at the start of the season, was first game of the season. Darwin caused Fulham so, like, it wasn't because like his technical brilliance or anything like that. Fulham could not handle Darwin's awkwardness at all.
Yeah,
like he was a real problem. And I just feel like if Klopp thinks back to like what was good about Liverpool that day, and there really wasn't a lot that day, it was Darwin was tough to handle. And I think that given Jota played Wednesday, He's going to have this Sunday. Then he's got Wednesday again. As you say, he's just been through 3 games in quick succession after injury, whatever it is. I'd be so surprised if he starts both of these games.
You go for it, Johnny. You know,
But definitely
you
do it, mate.
a
Yeah,
lot of
absolutely
time.
do it. Yeah,
you're going to
definitely do it.
absolutely kick yourself if you don't.
Yeah.
I'm having
I
a bit
will.
of fun. I don't think
I
he's
will.
a bad pick. I just think that it was too good an opportunity to miss, to be fair.
And to be fair, I'm not confident he starts both, but he definitely starts one, and I think that's all I need.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't need to start both, to be fair. You
Half
know,
an hour of Jota against a tie.
Yeah, it's true.
Coming on at 60, I'd
Yeah.
still back for a goal.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think he's a bad pick.
I saw a funny comment from FPL Rob. FPL Rob, who I'm hopefully going to watch Leicester with on Monday night. Get Jota. Gianni's an expert when it comes to strikers. Havertz who? Thanks, guys. I still can't go a stream without Havertz being mentioned. And I sold him.
Sell him.
Love that. Guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. It's been awesome watching your comments coming in. And before you leave, if you're just joining, go back and watch the last hour. I promise you won't regret it. Hit the like button and subscribe. But yeah, Ian, it's been fun having you on again, mate. You're flying this season. I don't think I can catch you yet, but we'd love to have you on again at some point in the not too distant, I'm sure. Hopefully, my rank will be a bit closer to yours when you're next on.
Yeah, well, hopefully, mate. And it might be Diogo Jota that fires you up the ranks this week. You never know.
Imagine.
I presume you're going to captain him, yeah?
Oh, it's still Haaland, mate. I can't. Imagine watching 2 Man City games this game week, not captaining Haaland. I just can't imagine the stress.
What about vice captaining him just to show him that you got real faith in him? Yeah,
I'll do that. I'll do that. I'm
Good
backing
man.
Jota over Salah for vice. Yeah, why not?
Good man.
Yeah.
Dean, we'll be back on Tuesday. I think, next week.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Love that. We got games every day pretty much next week. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday FPL interest. But for now, guys. You've been watching Chasing Green Arrows. He's been Ian. He's been Dean. I've been Janny. And we've been Chasing Green Arrows. See you later.